Guys, welcome to Tariq's class. So today I'm going to be going over reading comprehension. So I'm going to solve one reading comprehension. I'm going to thoroughly read the passage and comprehend and answer the questions using process of elimination. Guys, as you know, I have the center in Elmhurst, the new center called Tariq's class. You are more than welcome to come there to get the lessons, like in-person lessons, and the test is coming closer, so you'll need a lot more practice material, and the most important thing is discipline and motivation. So I'm definitely going to help you with that. So let's start with the reading comprehension. In order to read properly, you need to become a super reader. In order to become a super reader, you need three things. First of all, you have to be able to read fluently. Second, you have to have the speed. Third, you have to have the ability to comprehend. So these are the three things. So first of all, the speed, you need to control it. Sometimes you have to read slower, sometimes you can read faster. For example, the introduction of a paragraph, of a passage is really important. So for introduction, we'll read a little slower. Like for example, let's take a look at this reading comprehension. So first of all, the introduction. A memory revolution. In a sentence, there are 2 to 3 words, the keywords that are important, not the whole thing. So we'll focus on those and try to understand this passage. A memory revolution. A high school senior logs onto a computer at the library to double check the application due date listed on college admission website. Nearby, a librarian helps a group of biology students use a database to search for recent studies about mammals. So the high school students and nearby somebody else, they're using the search engine. Okay, in the past few decades, the internet has become an integral component of the daily life. Okay, this is where the main thing starts. So internet became the integral component of the daily life for many people. The seemingly limitless power of the search engines made the internet search extremely common, and today people increasingly rely on the internet's vast accumulation of sources to access all type of information. Scientists are beginning to examine how this reliance is modifying. Okay, modify means change the strategies people use to store and prioritizing information in their mind. Okay, so this is the most important thing. What are they modifying? The revolution, the change is how people store and prioritize information. How do they remember and give the priority to the information? Okay, so we get an idea about the introduction. If you look at the words I highlighted, they are the most important thing, like integral, important component of daily life, and it seems like it has limitless power. And the scientists examining modifying of the storage and the prioritizing the information in their mind. Now, let's see what they're doing. So, a dependable and valuable asset. Psychologist Benjamin Storm from the University of California, and some of these part we can skip some of the words. And the researchers Sean Stone and Aaron Benjamin devised an experiment to study students' tendency to depend on the internet facts. So to begin, scientists divided 60 participants into multiple groups, including an internet group and a memory group. So 2 groups, internet group and memory group, and placed them in front of the computer. The internet group was required to use search engine Google to answer 8 challenging trivia questions. So internet group had Google to answer 8 challenging questions, and in contrast, participants group in the memory group were permitted to use only their personal knowledge to answer the questions. Okay, so the memory group, they have to use their personal knowledge. The internet group, they can use search engine. Now, in the second round, the researchers administered notably easier questions. Now they're given easier questions. Now, this time they allowed each group the option of using Google as they answered. So both groups are using Google search, and their results showed that 83% of this internet group continued to consult Google in the second round, while only 63% of the memory group chose to do so. So when they got the internet, so 83% of the internet group, they still continue to use the internet search. And from the memory group, 63% of the memory group, they're like, we're going to use the search engine. So it shows how people, when they have the Google search, they tend to rely on the Google search. Okay, we get the idea. Let's take a look at the third paragraph. So it says, people People's growing inclination to rely on the internet in order to retrieve information, particularly facts and figures, is called cognitive offloading. So people this relying for the information on internet, it's called cognitive offloading. So maybe they're offloading the information that they're supposed to remember. They're just not remembering it, they're loading it off. Now, Canadian researcher Ivan and British researcher Sam, who have written extensively about these topics, say a similar process has been taking place for centuries. So as you can see, I have speeded up, my speed going up, because as I'm understanding more and more now, I kind of get it, that what kind of, they will give like a bunch of names with their credentials, and then they will get to the point that what experiment they're doing. Now, so the Sam, who have written extensively about these topics, a similar process has been taking place for centuries. Okay, in the past, people used resources like encyclopedia to assist their memories. And however, today the internet, so today's internet, serving as a vast extended memory, allows people to digitally access and retrieve much larger volumes of information. Now, consequently, people's mind are free for other so people's mind will be free from for other cognitive feats such as connecting data, learning new information, and solving problems. So now that they have more free mind, so because they didn't have to remember a lot of things, so they can focus on other stuff. Now, let's go to the next. So filing information away. Okay, so the use of internet also appears to be modifying the strategies people use to store information in their mind. Researchers show, okay, so how people store information in their mind. Researchers Betsy Sparrow from Columbia University, like Jenny Lu, now and Daniel and from Harvard University conducted several studies to discover how people efficiently manage their information intake. So how people take information, how people manage their information. Now, paragraph 5. To begin, the researcher examined how people evaluate which information deserves their effort to remember. For example, so effort to remember. So for this experiment, participants read 40 trivia facts, such as an ostrich's eye is bigger than its brain, and typed the statement into a computer file. Half of the participants had been previously told the file would be saved, and while other half believed that it would be erased. So, okay, so they got some facts, and half of them thought it will be saved, and others thought it will be erased. Now, next, the participants wrote down every facts they could recall. Those who believed the information would be erased and no longer available, they could recall 40% more facts. Okay, so those who realized that the information is not going to be saved, so they actually put the effort to remember. So 40% more facts they could recall than those who thought the information would be saved. Because probably those who thought the information would be saved, they didn't bother remembering the content. Let's look at in another experiment. The same researchers tested the ability to study participants to remember where. Okay, now they're gonna remember where, like location, where to access information. For this trivia, participants read and typed trivia statements which they saved in folders with generic names such as facts and items. After spending 10 minutes writing down all the facts they could recall from the memory, participants were asked which folder contained a particular fact based on the keyword. So for example, which folder has the fact about ostriches. Overall, participants could recall the information's location more often than the content itself. So they can tell, okay, I don't know what the content is, but I can tell you which folder I saved it in. So overall okay, so they could recall the information's location more often than the content itself, correctly identifying 49% of the folders for specific facts while remembering only 23% of the actual trivia. Now the researchers concluded that our memory is adapting to the adapting to the internet age to prioritizing age by prioritizing where to locate information even when the specific details are forgotten. So if you forget things, but they at least know where to locate the information, which folder has it. According to Sparrow, so the internet has become an important form of transactive memory, an external source of recollection and associative networks for the constitute memory. Okay. Now the final conclusion. As the internet's research continue to expand our external memory, some questions whether the process may cause people to depend too heavily on technology. Okay, now they're saying that there can be a negative side. Okay, some says that, some question. However, Stephen thinks, however means a contrast. So Stephen, a professor of psychology at Harvard University says, so Knowledge is increasing exponentially. Knowledge is increasing a lot. Human brain power and waking hours are not. So human brain powers and the waking hours, they cannot stay awake for too long. Now, fortunately, the internet and information technologies are helping us manage, search, and retrieve our collective intellectual output at different scales, from Twitter and preview to ebooks and online encyclopedia. So from making us stupid, far from making us stupid. So these technologies are only things that will keep us smart. So it's a positive thing. So until this paragraph, so if there was no side picking, so the before the paragraphs were unbiased, like simple informations, but this is biased, means they are picking sides. So one is saying good and another is saying they can have bad. So then there is a image. Let's take a look at that. So in the image, so it says how memory works. So information, so you get a new information, it becomes a memory. If you pay attention, then it becomes short-term memory. Like, let's say when your teacher is explaining something in the class, you pay attention, then it will become short-term memory, means you will understand. If you do rehearsal, means practice, then the storage will become long-term memory. But if it is unrehearsed, you don't pay attention, or you don't practice again, so it will be forgotten. But even the long-term memories can be forgotten, but some information may be forgotten over time. So sometimes things can retrieve to the old short-term memory if you don't. Sometimes the long-term memory can become short-term memory too, and sometimes it can be forgotten. Okay, so this is nothing about internet. It's about just how memory works. Let's go answer the questions. This is where the game starts. Now take a look. The details in paragraph 3. Okay, first of all, for answering the questions, we will use Tariq's extreme devices. For answering the questions, we will use the devices. So, like such as extreme. Okay, let's answer the questions, guys. Now, 50 says, the details in paragraph 3 about cognitive offloading convey the central idea. So what is this cognitive offloading central idea? Is, we remember in paragraph 3 we did that the relying on the internet is the cognitive offloading. So how does it convey the main idea, the central idea? So you have to remember that. So first says, suggesting that reliance on internet for information is inevitable. Inevitable means you cannot avoid. So inevitable is an extreme word. Extreme means you just cannot avoid it. They didn't say anything like that. So it's extreme. We're going to avoid the extreme unless it was mentioned. So E is out. Demonstrating how the methods used to store and to find information have changed over time. Okay, could be, we're going to skip it for now. G says explaining how encyclopedias and the internet are similar. So they didn't say they are similar. This is contradiction, means saying opposite of what they said. So they said internet, how in the past encyclopedia was used, but now internet is used. So that's not what they say. This is also meaning manipulation, meaning changing, so that's not what they meant. You're changing the meaning. So 8 says implying that more information can be understood now than ever before. Now than ever before is extreme. They didn't talk about it either. So extreme means we're going to avoid it. So F is the answer. So technically we're going to use process-of-elimination. In each option there is at least one word, one keyword that's bad. So we're going to see if it's either extreme, or it's changing the meaning, or it's out of context, or contradiction, or it's too general or too specific. Let's practice more questions. You'll understand what I'm trying to say. Now 51 says, how do the details about the experiment described in paragraph 5 convey a central idea? So paragraph 5 was about what? Let's take a remember. So it was about the ostrich's eye is bigger than its brain, and then they type, okay, so half thought it'll be saved, half thought it'll be erased, and 40% more facts were told by those who thought it would be erased because they tend to remember. Okay. Now, how do the details about the experiment described in paragraph 5 convey? So paragraph 5 convey central idea. Okay, so these are the two keywords of the question. Now let's do process of elimination. A says they suggest that the act of repeating information by typing it on a keyboard. So they didn't say the act of repeating information or typing on a keyboard. Like, these are out of context. It's irrelevant. So out of context. B says they explain that a person will forget information faster if the information is considered unimportant. So this is to specifically say, they didn't say that they'll forget or not. Let's see if I can find a better answer. C says they indicate that a person may start to forget details when the amount of information becomes overwhelming. Overwhelming is a negative word. They didn't say anything about overwhelming or difficult or anything. So we're not looking for negative. So D says they suggest that memory is effective by whether a person expects to have access to the information in future. Yeah, like saved or no saved. Okay, so D is a better answer than B. And they explain if a person will forget or not. They didn't say about forgetting. They mostly focused on what percent could remember. It's not like what percent forgets. So it's D. D is a better answer. Sometimes two of the answers will be closer to each other, but we'll pick the one that's better. 52. As the Internet's researchers continue to expand our external memory, some questions whether the process may cause people to depend too heavily on the technology. It's in paragraph 7, so it's the last paragraph where they started picking sides. So let's do process-of-elimination. So how does the sentence contribute to the structure and development of the idea? So structure and development. So structure and development is like how the passage started and then slowly how it developed. So what did they talk about in the beginning? But they didn't. All we remember is the first paragraphs. They didn't talk about picking a side. But let's see. E says it presents a claim about the risks of relying on the internet that prompted means like caused the research in paragraph 2 and 6. So paragraph 2 and 6, they did the research because of this risk. They didn't say anything like that. This is out of context, and this is also changing meaning. Now F, so I'll say out of context. They didn't say that. For out of context, next time I'm going to use OC, okay? So F says it contrasts a disadvantage of relying on the internet with the benefit of internet use that are described in paragraph 2 and 6. Paragraph 2 and 6, did they talk about benefits? No, they're just experiments, no benefits at all. So they didn't pick a side in paragraph 2 and 3. So this is also not out of context. G says it signals a shift from a neutral point of view in paragraph 2 to 6. Okay, yeah, paragraph 2 to 6 was neutral to a presentation on an argument and counter argument. Yeah, they did again a counter argument, and remember the Steve said, oh no, it's better. So it could be. H says it introduces a counter argument and makes a transition from an optimistic tone. Optimistic tone they didn't have. It was just a simple information. It's not always picking side. So to a cautious tone, no, it's not that. So G is the answer. So 53 says the study described in paragraph 6 influenced researchers' idea about memory in digital age by what? So paragraph 6 was about what? It was about recalling memory. Oh, they knew the location where the folder was saved. Okay. So so about the memory in the, okay. So A says highlighting instances when organized, detailed information made it easier to remember. Highlighting instances when organizing detailed information made it easier to remember. Okay, let's see B. Confirming that keyword can, okay, confirming is a very strong word. They didn't confirm anything. But confirming that keywords can be remembered more easily than large amount of information. So this is not confirmed or anything because they did experiment. This is, they can conclude, but these are not confirmed. So this is extreme. Identifying a shift in focus from remembering specific information, knowing where to find it, could be. D says emphasizing that remembering a basic idea is more important. This is a suggestion. They didn't say what is more important at all. You should remember it. This is more important. They didn't give any suggestions. So this is not going to happen. So B and D out. So let's look at which one is better, A and C. So where to find it? That's a better keyword, of course, because that's the paragraph 6 was. What would you guys pick, A or C? C, right? This is better option. The A says highlighting instances when organizing detailed information made it easier to remember. No, they didn't remember the content. This is actually meaning change because they remembered where to find it. Let's do 54. It says how does the diagram provide additional support to the topic? So diagram was about the how memory works. So let's go back to the question. How does the paragraph provide additional support for the topic presented in the passage? So it reveals why human brains must adapt. Why? They didn't say anything about why. F It indicates how people can use the internet to help improve their long-term recollection. It's nothing about internet either, so it's out of context. So they talked about only how memory works. AG says it shows how study participants' brain distinguish participants' brain. I don't know what participants' brain and the image, nothing. It depicts the idea that repetition and rehearsal are necessary to recall information when tools such as search engines are unavailable. Okay, yeah, it can say rehearsal, and it talked about how the memory should work if you don't have this search engine. Okay, we can accept that. 55. Which evidence from the passage is most relevant to the claim in the paragraph 7 that far from making us stupid, these technologies are the only things that will keep us smart? It was Stephen from the last paragraph. He said, okay, far from making us stupid, these are actually good things. So it's a positive comment ending. So let's do the process of elimination. It says the revelation that most people opted to use the internet to answer. So they said from this is a positive thing. Which evidence from the passage is relevant to the claim? Means which one is a positive thing also. Now the revelation that most people opted to use the internet to answer relatively easy trivia questions rather than relying on their own brain. So they are even using internet for easy things. So I think that's not what's showing for making for us stupid. So when they use internet for easy things, it doesn't show a positive thing, it shows a bad thing. B, the assertion that the storage of information on the internet frees people to focus on higher. This is a positive thing. C says the connection between how people organize information in their mind and the ability to recall that information doesn't show anything if they how it's getting any benefit. Nothing positive. It's neutral. D says the description of transactive memory as an expensive external source that people can use to store information. So between B and D, which one is a better answer? So internet frees people's mind. So this is more positive. So that's where we're gonna pick that, more positive. That's what we're looking for. 56. Which sentence from the passage suggests that using internet search engines may lead people to rely less on their own ability to recall information? So where it shows that the people are relying less on their own ability and relying more on internet. E says, in the past few decades, the internet has become an integral component of daily life for many people. Okay, could be. F says the internet group was required to use the search engine to answer. So if somebody is required to use the search engine, of course they're going to use it. This doesn't show that they are relying on it. G, their results showed 83% of the internet group continued to consult Google. Okay, this shows they continue to rely. The 83%, 63%. Okay, this shows how a big percentage of people are still relying on the internet search. Okay, H says for this experiment, participants read 40 trivia facts. Okay, what they read, it doesn't show that anything about their being reliant on anything. So it's either E or G. E says in the past few decades, the internet it became an integral component, but this is too general. But we're specifically looking for specific. So we're going to pick this specific. We don't want to be general here. Generally, what's happening, that's not what's going on. So we want to specifically show us that how people relying less on their ability and more on the internet specifically. So that's why we pick that. So we pick general answer when it comes to like what is the central idea of the overall passage. So that could be central idea, but not specific answers when we're looking. 57. The effect of the internet on a person's memory is illustrated by in the passage through the presentation of study. So the effect of internet on a person's memory. How internet affecting person's memory. A says examine how the use of search engines change the way people evaluate and store information for future access. Could be. B, highlight the difference between the capacity of the internet. So we don't know the capacity of the internet. They didn't say how much internet can have capacity. And C, compare the type of, they said a little bit that internet can do, but the whole capacity of the internet, they didn't talk about it. C, this is extreme. C says, compare the type of information that can obtain from the internet with the type of information that is stored in the human brain. What type of information? They didn't say exactly what type of information. They just talked about some research and stuff and examples, but not exactly the type of information that can be obtained. Imagine so many different types you can obtain. D, emphasize the ease of obtaining information through search engines rather than remembering it without assistance. Okay, examining how the use of the search engine can changes the way people evaluate and store. Yeah, so they did examine how the use of search engines can change the value. This is the main idea. This is the main thing. So A, D is emphasizing the ease. Ease would be biased, like you're picking a side. They didn't pick a side until the paragraph 7 or something. There was just a counter argument. So it's A. So as you can see, like take a look at what we did. So I'm just gonna give you an overview. So you gotta read the paragraph, the first introduction, you have to read it properly, slowly, but you have to be a fast reader. For that, what you can do is, so you can read more, like take out a passage and read it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Every time you read a paragraph, time yourself. So the first, you're going to work on your fluency and speed. So you can work. And the third, now you're going to work on how to comprehend the passage. So that you have to do by finding the keywords, at least 1 or 2 words in a sentence that you can highlight and focus on that to understand what that sentence is about. Once you know how to read faster and fluently and everything, then you can go to the questions. Here you're going to use the devices such as extreme, contradiction, changing meaning, out of context, when to be general, specific, when assumptions, no assumptions, you cannot assume things. And so these are the devices you use to do the process of elimination. Process of elimination is highly, highly, highly recommended. Without it, it's difficult to get a perfect score. So if you understand the passage pretty well and do the process of elimination, reading comprehensions are like very easy thing and very fun thing to do. It's just 4 options and you just have to pick one. So, okay guys, that's it for, I just did this passage. I will say you keep practicing, and I did go over a bit faster on the reading section because that's the speed you require to have to be able to finish the test on time. Okay guys, if you have any question or anything, you can text me or call me or email me, whatever way you want to reach up to me. So I do give prep in my class, the new center that I opened. It's called Tariq's class. The Tariq's class, I do give a lot of different materials, like harder passages, different questions, and a lot of critical thinking is required. So plus practice test, timing, and I give like a very proper care, close attention to everything. So if you want to get that kind of attention, you'll have to come in person to my class. My phone number is on the screen. Just let me know, call me or text me. I will help you guys. Okay guys, keep practicing and best of luck.